Well, on some days, it's a little bit more difficult to come up with a title of the show than others. As I looked at my phone last night, throughout the night, and early this morning, watching the trading action, Wicked Wednesday. That's it, folks. We got some positives. We'll find a positive about this market. Let's hope it remains positive. We'll get some analyst talk at 8:35 with Alicia Reese, and she's covering the cinema stock, so that'll be a lot of fun. And full day of programming on the Stock Trader Network. We got a busy day. Let's get to work on pre-market prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right. Bottom line, we're down about 100 handles. I'm just going to round things off, folks. This market's moving too fast. 49.20. The buck taking another haircut, down 80 cents, 101.91, above the low of the move. TLT, man, that's an ugly 3 days there. You don't like to see that. Down a buck 46 at 86.88. USO, and I don't know if I'm looking at the right prints here with the 8 o'clock prints, but USO down another 326. It's on 60.36. Gold, a little flight to quality here, folks. Up GLD up 8 sticks, 283.20. No one cares about silver. How many times you heard me say that? Up 67 cents at 27.81. Bitcoin futures, they're just kind of slowly eroding, clinging to the 75K level, down 580 bucks at 76,235. Let me remove the screen, the charts, and Dennis is going to hop on the stage. I hope he can hop on here in a minute. I'm sure the 8 o'clock open is wild. Dennis, when did Michael Saylor do the offering and buy Bitcoin, or was he waiting for a dip? Remember that they did the
I don't
big
know.
offering? Nah, I'm
He's
just
getting
trying
a
to be
dip.
off guard. He's getting
He's
a
getting
dip.
the step.
So our
Go back
number
with the
one
truck. The
question.
GME, they're going to get the GME because they remember got the approval to buy the Bitcoin. I hope they haven't bought it yet. So that'd be actually, they could be buying the dip on this thing too. Wow. I mean, talking about buying the dip, talking about selling the rip, that is all we have right now is whipsaw, headline-driven action. Just even this morning, we've had 3 macro headlines that have come out since this morning, just driving price. One was the escalation, about 7 o'clock this morning that the China was raising the tariffs on U.S. goods. So U.S. raised last night, China raised this morning. That's why you saw the drop around 7 o'clock this morning when we went from almost scratch, unbelievably that we got back to scratch, and came all the way back down to basically the pre-market and after hours lows. At 7:48, we got another pop. EU trade chief discussing parameters to lower tariffs with the U.S. And then just a few minutes later, you had Benson talking about the bond market, but you also had Benson say something about the China stocks. Somebody had asked about delisting the China stocks from U.S. exchanges, and he said nothing is off the table. So, I mean, so many headlines here. This war with China is escalating very, very quickly.
It is escalating with China very quickly, and what is a little bit concerning. I'll give you the concerning thing and the non-concerning thing.
Please.
The concerning thing is fundamental, and that is like we're not getting a lot of allies in this battle here. We're not exactly picking up people to fight for us. So that's the bad thing. The good thing, and I'm going to stick to this until otherwise, we haven't breached the low of the move yet. We're about 90 handles away. It kind of seems imminent, but once again, what one headline can take us away from that. We could talk all we want about yesterday in the rally and then what happened, but what from watching the market over the years, these big down days when you open up down, you go down, 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 down. Okay, man, you take it as a down day. But when you're up that much and then you go down, that's sticking a knife in your heart because that's just just gains eroding. So, we're getting absolutely no reprieve on this, and I don't see. I mean, it's just a headline, right? It's just a headline. People are saying, I mean, you can't believe anything. Yes, people are saying that countries want to talk. Well, what are they talking about? And Trump says he doesn't want to deal. I mean, we just have to deal with the fact that this is the way it is. There's not going to be any trade deals until there is, and you just have to trade and do your portfolio accordingly. That there's no deals on the table and nothing's going to be done. And that,
All we
and,
can Yeah,
go
and
ahead,
all we
Dennis.
can
I'm sorry.
promise here is uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I think there's going to be a dozen headlines macro here today coming from, White House, coming from other, countries. We've had three in the last hour that were all market moving and whipsawing the S&P. I don't know if you can show the whipsaws from last night,
Oh man, what
like
what what time frame do you want to go, Dennis? I mean,
from last night. Like we're down, 80 points. Then we rallied all back. Then we're down 80 points. Then we rally most of it back. Then we're down 80 points again. I mean, that's what we did last night. Like crazy, crazy, crazy moves. We were up. We were up last night, eh? When I didn't even know we got up. I must have been sleeping at that time. I didn't sleep.
no, I know. I could have. I saw us at like four. I swear, man. This market's kind of keeping me up at night, which is kind of unusual. But I saw us down over 4,900, and I'm like, holy mackerel, we're gonna take out the low of the move. And then I woke up again, and we were green. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh
Mhm.
man, this gonna be an easy day at the office." And
Yeah.
then we settled in where we're at right now. But
Crazy movement. Just
y-
crazy movement. I mean,
yeah,
great commentary from the chat here, like trying to figure it out. I don't know. People are saying who's selling the treasuries. Let's talk the TLT here for a second because it's the
oh boy.
boogeyman in the room, and we just tanked. It was flight to safety 3 days ago. The never-ending cough's not going to go away. $94 in the TLT. That's the most violent reversal I've seen in the TLT in a long time. It's near the lows of the move, just like that. What's happening here? I think you have fear just being, and even in treasuries here right now, a little bit. Like the flight to safety trade came off, but we don't feel
Hmm.
safe right now. So you'd think that flight to safety trade would be going back on. But that is not happening here, folks. Now, again, Fed commentary, there was no imminent rate cuts. They weren't dovish. They
Yeah,
weren't
that's
hawkish.
Holtzman.
That
That's
that that
he's
hit the
yeah,
TLT too.
yep, yep.
But you've also got probably uncertainty from international investors here as well and saying, well, I'm not comfortable, being in treasury. I don't know where the dollar's going, the US dollar. I don't know a lot of things here, so I'm just going to move. So don't, there's some of that in there as well. So there's a lot of reasons right now. But, you were just seeing pressure across the board. I mean, this isn't just US centric here. Europe's just, been annihilated in the last week where it was the safe place to be. Forget about the gains up 18% or whatever, or 10% for the year. That's all gone. It's down on the year. China was, at one point in time up like 23% or something on the year. That's all
Oof.
gone. That's gone too. I mean, again, the take the money and run market is what we are in. Just even to the S&P point yesterday morning, you get the rally back up to the 520. Joel Elconin in the STN room saying, I feel like selling some stocks here, because we just came up, we're at yesterday's high. And, we've seen this before where we rally 300 points and then we just, give it back. It's exactly what we did. It was a great call, Joel. Stocks 520 down to 487 back on SPY. We go from the high of the move and the low of the move. It feels like in a heartbeat. Snap, whipsaw, action, crazy.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get things to calm down. And I keep saying that, and I don't look at the VIX. I just look at the daily ranges, and now we're up over 200. I think we had 400 yesterday. Um, it just we got to calm down, and maybe if there was no headlines for a day or two, we could calm down. We got we got CPI tomorrow. Once again, these numbers are just right now in this market environment. I mean, they don't forecast what it's going to be when the tariffs are full in effect, right? We don't know when we got worst case scenario. We don't know if we beat inflation, and we have a slowing economy. I know that we're being told we're not going into a recession. Investors and traders are certainly acting like that. You're reducing government spending and you're losing jobs. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. When I went to school, that didn't, bode well for a market and an economy. But why don't do we want to like cover like earnings? I mean, we did start earnings. I mean, we could stay on the macro talk if you want, Dennis, but we could do that for an entire hour. But earnings determine things, right? And Delta Airlines kicks off.
No, they
No,
don't even. They don't. So I want to stick with the macro talk for a little bit
okay,
here. Yes, we have Delta, but I want to argue with you right now.
let's argue.
At this moment in time, earnings matter a zero. This is all macro. I've never seen a market dominated so much by what's coming from the White House next. I've never seen this before. So, Delta, the current earnings matter zero. The guidance might matter a little bit, but there is so much bad news priced into this market that okay, they beat and they beat. They're giving their numbers. They lowered guidance, Joel. Delta lowered guidance fairly substantially here. They're looking at a $1.70 to 230. Estimates are up at 239. The stock is actually green here right now. That is why the earnings matter zero. The stock just fell from 65 to 35 at a 50% cut. Everybody was expecting them to cut, which they absolutely did. The question to ask is, as we enter earnings season, has the bar come low enough that any company say anything okay? Do those stocks rally? That's the question I could pose to the chat.
Well, it's up 12 cents.
That
It's up
that's
12.
unbelievable. How often do you see a company lower guidance by on the lower end like 20% and the company is green? That's telling you the bar is going to be very low going into this earnings season. And that's a good thing, Joel. So, obviously it's the first stock reporting. We have the banks on Friday, and then we'll start to get into tech earnings, starting a little bit next week in the mega cap techs, I believe the week after. So it's coming. It's coming hot. The question is the bar low enough for some of these that even if they do lower guidance, can the stocks hold up? I don't know. I'm asking. I'm asking you, Joel. I'm
I,
asking the
I
chat.
mean, I mean, I'll just look at that. We can take the fundamental information, and what I try and do is I look at the fundamental information, which is very muddled, and then I look at the technicals, and the technicals are telling me the stock is up 12 cents, and it hasn't taken out the low of the move.
That's good
There's
news.
the three lows around the 36 area. The actual low of the move is 34.74. So at this point in time, at 8:14 on Thursday, April 9th,
I like this.
there seems to be some interest in this stock in the $35 handle. Under 35, 35 to 36. The big boys right now are saying the guys that are short are like, oh man, why is this down $3? They're withdrawing margin. This thing should be at 30. The bulls are saying what you're saying. Like, well, we've stayed out of this. We all know airlines are like the Roach Motel. They let you in, but they don't let you out. And the longs are like, hey, everything's overblown. This is just like COVID. 2 for 1, 50% retracement. We got to start nibbling. So they're the two things. So we're not down. We're holding the low of the move. That's simple technical analysis. Take it for what it's worth. We'll just look at the UAL relative strength basis. It's holding up, $56. The low of the move's a little bit lower. Love has got absolutely decimated. If you thought you were hanging out in love, look at that.
Wow. Back to
Wow.
worst of breed. Or maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Back to
And
the
that,
getter with you, love. Once a
yep.
dog. These dogs bark every once in a while, but they still have fleas. LUV. Flea bit mongrel.
And then you have to go, and let's just stay on this subject, cruise lines. I mean, 28 to 15 holding. I mean, this is it. Are we going to have a recession? Are people going to spend less money? Are people not going to go on cruises? I mean, this all is going to be determined. I tell you right now, cruise lines, I mean, the guys that are short are like, oh man, why is this down $3? They're withdrawing margin. This thing should be at 30. The bulls are saying what you're saying. Like, well, we've stayed out of this. We all know airlines are like the Roach Motel. They let you in, but they don't let you out. And the longs are like, hey, everything's overblown. This is just like COVID. 2 for 1, 50% retracement. We got to start nibbling. So they're the two things. So whoever has the most overseas exposure. I mean, is it Royal Caribbean? I guess. I mean, or Viking Holdings. I mean, whew. I mean,
Who's
and the other
going on a cruise? So people are going on a cruise, they already booked them. Who's booking a new cruise and they just saw 20% of their wealth erode in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 20% of your wealth gone. I think that's like the people are going to back off on that stuff. A lot of people. There's uncertainty, and then it's like, where are you cruising to? You're uncertain, and people talk about, what some anti-American, around the world. I'm not around the world. I'm in Canada. I can tell you there is some of that definitely going on. It's not, everywhere. I still love my American friends, but there's definitely, some of that going on around the world for sure. So we had people in the STN room saying, well, I was thinking about, going overseas, but I'm not sure, me being American, if they're going to give me a hard time over there. And then you get the opposite. It's like, well, I'm European, and I don't know if I want to go to the US right now because I don't know if they're going to give me a hard time over there. I mean, it goes both ways. So that hurts international travel when you have uncertainty about traveling across international borders because you don't know what the next thing's going to happen. That's where we're at right now. So there's a lot of things to think about. So I'm not 100% convinced that it's over for the cruise lines and this is the bottom. It's over for the airlines and this is the bottom. I think you've got a lot of people scrapping travel plans. So cruise lines, more ground zero. Airline has some essential travel in there. Business travels, a lot of other stuff in there. But cruise lines is all for fun.
I
So I think there's not a lot of
I
people spending money on all for fun
I
right
want
now.
to stand corrected. If I said they lowered guidance, then I misspoke. They withdrew guidance. Okay.
Who did that?
Delta. Just real quick, quick train of thought here. We got a question in the chat. We always like to answer questions. Any question you may have. They're worried about this deal, Walgreens, when it's a cash deal. They're worried. They're worried that they're just going to go pull the rug, right? And not do the deal. Dennis mentioned another thing. What about the Nordstrom family? Do you think they're Rochambeauing around
No,
right now, buying this thing at 24.50 when it
they be
would be
trying
at
to get out
12?
of it.
Yeah, that is what you're seeing. So I just wanted to address those questions. If you're a new trader, old trader, whatever, you got any questions, we want them here. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we try and do in the STN room.
People ask if
Uh,
I'm wearing a Michigan shirt. You're darn right I'm wearing a Michigan
yeah,
shirt.
is that
I
the same
love
one?
Michigan.
Are
I
you
love
this?
Michigan. I love America. I
You
want us to be
actually
friends again. That's
You
what I
actually
want to
have
happen.
you have three of them because you wore one on Monday, you wore one on Tuesday, and you wore one on Wednesday.
I cheer for all the Detroit teams except the Red Wings. I always like the Oilers, but I
The Red
cheer
Wings
for
got
Lions,
smoked last night.
Tigers.
The Red Wings are
Red
smoked.
Wings are in trouble. Red
They
Wings are
want
in
to fire
trouble.
Iserman. They is what they want to do. I mean, he's been there 6 years, but if we start talking sports, Dennis, we're really going to lose people.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can't go to sports, not on days like this. So just continuing. So
Walmart.
again, just
Let's go
a little
Walmart guidance. Walmart guidance.
Walmart did guidance. I
Uh,
never heard
y-
that.
yeah,
Did
we
Walmart
did.
give guidance? Oh, they did. They reaffirmed. I didn't even know that. I've been in the stock too. I didn't even know that. Shows how much it even matters. It's just moving around with the overall market. It's like individual stock news is almost meaningless right now. You rarely see this where it's almost meaningless. I didn't even know Walmart. Like you don't even see any moves. It's just moving with the overall market. So what was the Walmart guidance? Do you have it? They reaffirmed Q1. It looks like
Yeah, yeah, in sales
that's
growth.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
I do you think honestly, like I don't I think, maybe they get some stuff from China, so that's a little bit of a,
I
a
know they do.
question mark
Yep,
there. But,
yep.
with obviously margins and but do you think Walmart's sales are falling off because, I think Walmart sales go up when times are tougher. People trade down to Walmart. It's I'm going to go Walmart because it's cheaper. I know when I go like in Canada, I go to Walmart, local Walmart, and you go in there and everything's just a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit crappier, it seems like. Like the berries aren't as a little bit not quite as good maybe. The chickens maybe doesn't seem quite as good, but it's a buck cheaper. It's like the quality's a little smidgen less, but it's cheaper. So I think there's a trade down to Walmart, but I'm not saying I'm buying Walmart right now because I don't know how the margins and the tariffs, come into that.
Well, we'll just give a simple technical perspective. I mean, they got whacked. They gave this is their earnings day, and haven't filled that gap. $80, you know. I mean, 80's 80 until it's not 80. 70, 79, 81 was the low. I really can't say that the institutions are really, I'll give you the positive and then I'll give you the negative. The positive is that 80 could hold, right? There was another monthly low at 80 at 78.98. So there's that's like the positive. But here's the negative, okay? This is Walmart. Okay, look what Walmart, and I'm just going to do this until you guys are sick and tired of it, but this is the move off the COVID low. That's Walmart. Walmart went from what? 30 bucks, 35
On
bucks to
sale.
110.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to do a round tripper? No, I don't think so. But out of the, if you're worried about the situation, you're like, I'm not buying this thing at 80, then wait for 70, wait for 60.
The issue I still have with Walmart is its PE is still like 30.
Is it really?
It went to 40, Joel. That's how stupid that got. So I can remember back to the year 2000, 25 years ago, and I remember Walmart's PE went to 50. And then the stock had 13 years where it never saw those highs again. It took 13 years to get back to those highs. We just went to like 40, which is stupid. So I think 105 is going to be a long time for it to get back there, folks. I think it could be a long time. I would love Walmart at 60. Then you got some decent value, 22, 23 times on a huge, staple of a company that it is. At 30 times, Walmart is still expensive. So I'm out. I'm not interested in Walmart at 30 times earnings.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Dennis. Look at all those years of stagnation in Walmart here. I think this is far. My charts go
Yeah,
back
show it.
20 years. Going
That's
back
what
20.
Walmart does. It has a huge move, and then it does a decade of darkness. And then it has a huge move, and then it does a decade of darkness. We've seen this a couple of times. This move is ridiculous. I think you could get it could pull down into the 60s eventually if this market really gets ugly, and then have its decade of darkness. All depends on where tariffs go. All depends on where China goes. But believe me, folks, everybody that just started investing in the last few years thinks stocks just come back after 18 months and they all come back. That's not the case, folks, all the time. It doesn't have to be like that. I mean, we had from the year in 2000 till 2013, so go to the S&P. I don't know if you can go back that far, Joel, but we could show it
Yeah,
on the
hold on a
chart.
sec. Yep.
We're just trying to let you know it doesn't always come back in a year and a half. People who are telling you that are cherry picking data. So if we look even at SPY, if you wanted to do SPY or whatever,
That's the S&P cash. Do you want S&P cash? You want
it doesn't
SPY?
matter. But we had, yeah, you can do S&P
There's
cash
SPY.
if you
You
want.
love SPY.
I love SPY. So SPY hit about 150 in the year 2000. It got almost there and back to there in 2009, but then we had the financial crisis. Then it didn't get back there until like 2013. So you had 12 years where the S&P's return, you got a little dividend there, was zero. 12 years. 12 years. The decade of darkness. And then, you've had this huge, huge run in stocks. I'm just saying, it's not out of the realm of possibility that when the S&P wants to go 22, 23 times earnings or higher, 24, 25, as it was maybe just a few weeks ago, that maybe you're due for a few years of no gains, not just a few minutes of no gains. So it's hard for me to get on board. There's a reason Warren Buffett is 35% cash. There's a reason I have 35% cash. One, I follow Warren Buffett closely, but two, stocks just aren't that cheap. So now you throw a tariff war in that we don't even understand the repercussions from this. We don't even have a clue of how it's going to affect supply chains, how long it's going to last, what the next headline's coming from. And you're expecting stocks just bounce back to all-time highs in a month? I don't think so. I think there's too much uncertainty here. And don't kid yourself. We've had significant pullbacks before. Yes, we're down, 18% or close to 20%. It's been pretty ugly. But not every 20% rally rallies right away. We got down. In the financial crisis, I believe the S&P fell 54%, if I'm not wrong. Might have been higher than that. How much did the S&P fall down? Not that this is a financial crisis, but we don't know it's not yet.
Not yet.
S&P Drawdowns in history. Let's look. Fun. Okay. Notable drawdowns. The Great Depression saw an 86% drawdown. The dot-com burst was 49%, so not quite 50. It was down. We're down, 18 right now. We have a lot of uncertainty. I think keeping some cash, I think if you're dipping in, you have a long, time horizon here and you're buying good companies, reasonable valuation. That's what I'm all about. I bought some NVIDIA yesterday. I bought a little bit more NVIDIA. Was it yesterday or the day before? I bought it at
2 days
88.
ago.
2 days
Yep.
ago, 88.
It's
I didn't
holding
buy
up.
anything yesterday because we were up. Yeah. And you know what? Here's another argument too. And I made this argument on Twitter. A lot of people don't like me for saying these things, but I know, the whole point to all these tariffs is to bring jobs back to the US, to bring manufacturing jobs back to the US. I've argued in the STN room and I argued on Twitter that a lot of these manufacturing jobs, even if we move all the production to the US, we've got robotics coming. The robotics revolution is coming. So if you're like Apple and you're paying your Foxconn employees $2.80 an hour, and you're like, okay, well, we got to go build them over in the US. Are you just going to be giving employees $50, $60 an hour over here? No, it's going to kill your margins. But if you're Tim Cook and you're thinking, well, could we bring them over here and do it with robotics? Maybe robotics come into play here. And those robots are going to work maybe cheaper than the Foxconn employees. So maybe the jobs do come back over here, but unfortunately, they're probably not going to go to the unskilled workers. They're probably going to go to
Of course. Yeah.
humanoids, robotics, different places. There will be skilled workers that keep those, obviously, robots and, robotics working. But if you think everybody's going to be sitting there with their sewing machine in the US sewing up socks and t-shirts, if that's the vision here, I think the vision's very, very, very wrong. So I don't think there's going to be this huge amount where the middle class or the lower class is going to have all these manufacturing jobs that are paying them $60, $70 an hour. I don't envision that happening. So that there will be people to fix the robots for sure. But if you have a fleet of you're going to have one person on every robot, probably not. You're going to have one person fixing 20 robots, maybe. So I don't think you're going to see the volume of jobs that are overseas in Asia right now just coming back in that volume over here. I don't think it happens, even if the manufacturing does come back.
Dennis, I think we need to quit doing PMP and STN and open a robotics repair company.
Robotics repair. That's a good business.
Yes.
Get your kids into robotics repair. That's what we
Yes.
should get them into.
Yes.
So just finishing that thought, if we believe in the robotics revolution, which I firmly believe, I talked about it before, and I think these tariffs could actually accelerate it because I think companies start scrambling and saying, man, we're going to have to manufacture in the US. How are we going to do that with $50 an hour employees? We could get robots. We could get, robotics in there, and it's going to be, a lot of startup costs, but actually after the fact, they're going to produce it, just as cheap. That's probably where if the tariffs stick for 4 years, and we don't know, tariffs could be removed and the stocks could just rally right back. It could happen that quickly. But if the tariffs are, and Trump seems pretty tough on it, planning to stay for 4 years, I think companies start thinking that way. So I think in either way, let's just say two scenarios. One, tariffs get scrapped, that AI trade probably reaccelerates. Let's say the second scenario, tariffs get scrapped, that AI trade could still reaccelerate because they're going to need robotics to bring all this manufacturing over here. So NVIDIA maybe wins in both scenarios. So I bought more NVIDIA at 88. I think as you get under 90 and you get NVIDIA 21, 22 times earnings, again, maybe there's some pull forward and maybe there's going to be a recession for NVIDIA as well. So those earnings could come down. But NVIDIA, long term, you got a 5 to 10 time horizon. I think I like it under 90. I
mean, this is incredible. This stock is green right now, folks.
Yeah.
This stock is green by 20 cents, and it is what, $8 off the low of the move. What's the low here? Let's see. The low of the move was made on Monday. Dennis, you were pretty funny when you were buying stuff on Monday. You were like, "Oh, I bought this at 89. Oh, I'm down $2. Investing is fun."
And then it went to 106, and I'm like, oh, investing is fun. And then it's back in 96. I was like, investing is fun.
We got
So
the
my,
80.
my argument here, and people can say, oh, it's the robot fantasy. Do some Googling. See what these things are doing. They're not decades away, man. They're not decades away. They're years away. Not next year. No, not next year. 2027, probably not.
Could we?
2028, 2029? Yeah. There's already robotics. There's already lots of robotics. Think of intuitive surgical. We've been moving to robotics slowly for a while, but this tariffs could actually accelerate the movement, is what
Yep.
I'm arguing. I believe the robotics revolution is coming. And I think with the tariffs, it could come sooner. So I think positioning yourself for AI is still the way to go. And I think the market is telling you that. S&P is down 2%. Nvidia's not even red. It's trying to go green. I think those are the stocks you should be buying. Is still the tech stocks. If US tech, whatever, you want to go buy some China tech still too. A little bit scary with the thoughts that they might delist stocks or take those those companies listings down. I don't know, like if that's possible. That sucks if that happens. But I mean, I've added my Nvidia position. I added to Micron the other day. Give me a list, and STN room. Give me a list of your best AI plays. I'm interested in putting some of my 35% cash to work, not in your traditional, Walmarts, Kohl's, and your traditional retail companies and your oil companies. I'm not interested there. I am definitely interested in still getting into more AI.
What was the name of? Someone just mentioned the Lost in Space robot. What was Remember that? What was the name of that robot in Lost in Space? Remember that he used to. And or I'm thinking of the
What was it?
Jetsons. The Jetsons
No, Lost
too.
in Space was there. What was the Lost in Space robot?
You get a whoever Hal.
Hal. Hal.
Yeah, Roger
Hal.
Noonan with or Doctor. Oh no, Doctor Smith was the was one of the pilots or what? Look at this.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson. And I mean,
Jetsons with Rosie. That's correct, man.
And I
What
mean,
a
this is why we have a market. Some people are saying, no way, this is fantasy land. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe I'm going to lose all my money on NVIDIA. Maybe it's going to go back to like $5 and NVIDIA was a fad and AI was a fad. Maybe. I don't think so, though, in my opinion. And all investing
is
is
opinions.
taking opinions and putting it into action. You can take other people's opinions and put it into action as well. I'm giving you an opinion here. I think there's a place to have AI stocks portfolio in a tariff environment and in a non-tariff environment. That's where I'm at.
Could Brent, after the break and after we have Alicia, could you get Tim Cook on the line and ask him for the blueprints for his $500 billion factory that he's building here in the U.S. to see if it's robotics that are going to be putting in there? Because I want to invest in those
There's going
companies.
to be
Okay,
more robotics coming.
okay, all right. We got to take a breath here, and we need we
Breathing.
need we need to go. Yeah, Dennis, you go back there, bang on your keyboard a little bit, and we're gonna have a nice, calm, cool, and collected conversation with Alicia Reese, media and entertainment analyst at Wedbush. Alicia, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. It's such a change in voice and tenor. You came on a little bit early and you were listening in. I hope we didn't scare you off. So I
No,
think
no, I think that's an interesting idea with the robotics, actually. Could be a good trade.
okay. All right. So you cover the media and entertainment industry over there at Wedbush, and it's a volatile environment, right? Or I don't know if so much as compared to the markets, but you have to take tariffs into your equations now, and I know that's a very difficult thing because we don't know exactly what they are and who is going to affect, but you have to take that into account in your analysis. How are you doing that?
Sure. For the movie theaters, it's going to hit their concessions and merchandise. And merchandise has not historically been a huge part of the equation for the exhibitors, but certainly it's growing. It's still quite small, and concessions margins are above 80%. So the hit is somewhat impactful, but not necessarily a huge impact. The more important piece of the puzzle is how's content looking? will this get people to go out to the theater to kind of escape a tough reality for a while, especially if there's a recession coming? And the history says that this industry is relatively recession resistant. People will still go to the movies. It's an inexpensive way to stay home, skip a vacation perhaps, and still find some entertainment. So if the content's there, that's what matters, and that's what we're looking at. We just got back from a CinemaCon conference where all the studios, the major studios, present their upcoming release slates to the movie theaters, and we were impressed. Overall, we think each of the studios is taking the approach that works best for them, and collectively in 2025 and 2026, we see a really balanced release slate that will appeal to a broad, diverse audience and get pretty much everyone to the movie theater at some point or another, or multiple times throughout the next couple years. So we're expecting a 7% growth in domestic box office in 25 and another 7.5% growth in 2026, which should, create some resistance for these stocks. IMAX is still our favorite name globally. It got hit pretty hard yesterday on some what I think is relatively weak news coming out of China, that China's mulling taking Hollywood content out of the picture for 2025 in response to the tariffs. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did, I'd like to just point out something I don't think is well understood here. Q1, China had Ne Zha 2. That was a huge title. In fact, the 5th largest global box office title in all of history. And most of that was out of Chinese box office. They also watch a lot of other local language content. Lots coming this year. 5 of those titles coming this year alone were filmed with IMAX cameras, so IMAX is pretty well positioned there. And they can play lots of other Asian content that plays well on their screens. Hollywood's nice to have, but it's padding on another way. It's a pretty strong release slate. But I do think they will get that Hollywood content as well. They'll keep that.
Isn't there a concern that with perhaps whatever's coming on, there's a lot of uncertainty coming. Is there
Yeah.
is there a chance that these production companies are going to start pulling back? That they're going to start putting out less content just because of the expenses? I mean, how long do you think that take? I mean, how long does this we have to be in a depressed environment, depressed market for those companies? I mean, would that signal a little bit of an alarm to you that yeah, well, we're cutting back on the content?
They have a lot of areas with where they could cut expenses. I think they'll, if anything, there will be fewer big swings, but that won't impact 25 and not much in 26. The big swings have been in production for some time and most of the money's been spent already. So the incremental spend now is on marketing. Will they or will they not market it? Well, all that money that they've spent so far, if they don't market it, nobody's going to know about it. Nobody's going to go to the theater. Um, Luckily, the studios can increasingly rely on their talent to do direct marketing via like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Okay, okay, that's a
A
good
lot
point.
of so a lot of these big movies are usually headed by some big talent, especially if you have Gen Z, young millennial talent. They're connected with their fan base, and they'll let the people know that their movie's coming out. So that's really helpful, and it's very inexpensive relatively for the studios to get the word out on those.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, kind of following our mode of marketing, free. All right, let's get the dogs out of the way. I don't want to call them dogs. I don't want to say stocks that have been underperforming. And
yeah.
I see, is there any hope for GoPro?
Well, they're in a pretty tough position right here, aren't they? Um, it
What
was
are they
already a
worth?
tough
What's their
market.
cash value? Are they worth anything? Or is this
I mean, we
48
have them
cents?
at about a dollar, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
before we account for any impact of tariffs.
Okay, next.
So,
Okay. All right, let's move on from that one. So I saw a headline the other day. Now I know I forget the name of it's been so long, the president or the CEO of AMC. Didn't he wasn't he buying when he was bringing in all that money? Wasn't he buying gold stocks? Am I totally
A gold
distorting
mine?
things here, or
No,
what?
he had bought a gold mine, or they had, invested in a gold mine. So they do have it on their books, and they mark to market every quarter. It's not produced a return so far.
No,
Um, are you surprised?
no. I mean, but what about? I mean, he could have just bought gold.
Yes.
What is
That's my simple answer. Yes, you're correct.
what's the gold mine that he bought?
Well, the gold mine was, I think the point was to leverage the retail investor base that AMC had enjoyed for some time to get proper investment into the gold mine that the gold mine
Okay,
needed
okay,
to get
okay,
moving. And they did that. Unfortunately, for those retail shareholders, they lost out because the shares have not performed for them.
okay. Quick market update. We got a little bit of a I hate to say it here, a little bit of a creeper rally going on here, but we'll see how long that lasts. Back to Alicia Reese. She's from Wedbush, covering the media and entertainment sector here, giving us a little relief here from these crazy markets. Let's stick on the cinemas here. We talked
Sure.
IMAX. She thought that it was, that move was. I mean, if China does pull Hollywood content, that would not be bullish. But
No.
let's move to Cinemark. And I know you've
Sure.
talked about
Yeah.
this one for a while. Quite a haircut from December, 36 to 24. I mean, actually, this stock 2024, when you look at, relative to the market, did make a new low for 25 here. Is this up? I wonder if that's a bad print, up a buck 45. Yeah, that might be. Talk to us about Cinemark Holdings.
Yeah, so they reinstated their dividend this past quarter. There was quite a big run up into that. It wasn't as high as I think a lot of investors had hoped it would be. So the next catalyst really is, just beside the general box office, they have a convert coming due in August that dilutes a little bit, but not a lot. I think the sell-off has been overdone here overall. They should be
Okay.
trading fundamentally at least $30. We're at a $32 price target before you kind of build in the convert. So, shave a couple dollars off, but it's not more than that.
Okay, where did so is was this when they didn't I'm looking at the chart here when they came out with the dividend and then it wasn't what people wanted, is that when it got whacked or
Yeah.
was that
Yeah,
just
it got whacked on that because there was a lot of buying into that,
okay.
hoping it would be a bit higher. But yeah, I mean, the results were fine. They have some good industry tailwinds here, certainly, as we were talking about with the box office going up
Do
nicely
do
in
any of
25 and
the other
26.
theater stocks pay a dividend?
Yeah, they have all historically paid
Oh,
a
really?
dividend. The theaters themselves, yes. Um,
Okay.
AMC is so Marcus was the first to reinstate their dividend, ticker MCS. Cinemark
Haven't
just
heard of
reinstated theirs, and then you have AMC, who is not yet and probably won't for some time because they still have significant debt to work through.
How come I never heard of the Marcus Group?
They're a
Marcus Corp.
smaller Midwestern theater group, but they are. We don't officially cover them at the moment, but we certainly
Okay.
look at
No, I
them.
just thought that came the name. Okay,
Yeah,
let's keep rocking and rolling here. Well, also just to point out to our listening audience, I mean, when they dividend, it stayed a dividend. That brings in a whole new group of investors, into the market, right? The ones that bought it looking for the bigger dividend are probably not too happy. But perhaps if you waited,
yeah.
that it's
I'll
just a
probably
whole.
increase that after the convert is in the rear view.
Okay, get that. We did IMAX, we did Cinemark.
Yeah,
Let's talk NCMI,
yeah, sure.
National Cinemedia Inc.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I think they have obviously the industry tailwinds of an improving box office environment where you have a lot more, butts and seats, and so a lot more eyeballs on the screen. Their advertising is very high CPM, high cost for advertisers. So, those who are culling their budgets with a tough environment might be hard pressed to choose such a high CPM, so advertising spend is a little shaky. However, if that's where consumers are and the people that are hard to reach are, and it's a really high, paid attention environment, lights down, in several cases with the premium advertising slots, it's hard to pass that up. So I think they're relatively insulated, but again, stock sell-off here creates a potential opportunity.
Now here's a stock when you think about the movie theaters and you think about like all the equipment and everything here. Logitech,
Yeah.
105 to 66 here. Talk to us about your coverage of Logitech.
Yeah, we actually upgraded Logitech not long ago, about a month ago. They have some interesting tailwinds in the gaming segment. They have some stable peripherals, just your PC peripherals with an upgrade cycle. We're waiting for video conferencing um, to rebound. I think the dynamics of that market, or IT heads have been, mostly focused on cybersecurity and spending their money there, and also spending on AI initiatives. So, once they work through those, outfitting offices for video conferencing and making that more robust as people come back to the office or work hybrid, is certainly on the radar. But right now, I think cybersecurity and AI are going to continue to be the bigger spending buckets for IT heads.
All right, let's talk about the big dog here, Netflix. Talk about let's see how this is. I haven't looked at Netflix in a while. I mean, you could say, I mean, to me, it's holding up okay. I
Yeah.
mean, the tremendous run it had, down $12 today, of course, with the market. I mean, if you look at, I don't Mag Seven, the big stocks. I mean, do you hold your breath and say, hey, this one's held up well, it's going back up to four digits, or do you say, man, the Axe Man hasn't come forth yet. Time to take the axe to it.
Yeah, so there's some dynamics here with Netflix. I mean, certainly if people are cutting costs, they're going to cut some of their discretionary spending, travel, going out to eat. What do? They stay home. If they stay home, they want to watch TV. They need to be entertained. Um, they're going to cut some of their streaming services, perhaps, but Netflix is usually not the one that's cut. It's usually the core service that people keep. That said, they could downgrade to an advertising supported model, which is actually what Netflix wants people to do. They need to get more and more people onto their ad tier to make that more robust. Now they have live sports with the WWE this year. They're probably going to add some more, like they did in the fourth quarter with the NFL, bits and pieces here and there.
Uh-huh.
So the ad prices have come down quite a bit, so that's not favorable for Netflix. Amazon flooded the market with inventory when they introduced their ad tier. So CPMs have certainly dropped in the first quarter. So there are a variety of dynamics to think about. But Netflix is not going to be providing any subscriber numbers as of the first quarter. They're not going to provide ARPU, just revenue. So it's going to be a mix, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to track. So we're certainly continuing to follow all of these dynamics, which by and large are positive, with a few caveats. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the market reacts when we don't have those subscriber numbers given.
Hi, Alicia. Dennis Dick here. I just got a general question for you before we let you go. I mean, it's a really tough job, being an analyst. And, when you see all of a sudden this market volatility that we're having, and these uncertainty coming from not only the White House, but from other countries and this tariff war, how do you because you guys are obviously focused on your companies, is it like, do you just try to ignore all this macro headwinds and this noise? It's a tough job. How do you go about navigating that as an analyst?
Yeah. Well, you have to just pick the industries that are worth highlighting here. That's why, I put out a note on, the movie industry, because it is relatively recession resistant. So I think it's worth highlighting that, and to say that um, the way the shares are trading might be overdone here, and to look at how we think that it could trade in the next few quarters. That being said, we certainly have to work in the tariff impact on all of our consumer electronics stocks. Anything, anyone who's selling consumer electronics in the US where it's built, and anywhere in Asia is going to be pretty terribly impacted. So, we just have to work one by one through these different industries, and then look at the individual stock performance
I'm
and
going to sneak one more in. What did
fundamentals.
you think of
Sure.
the Academy Award winners?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's not unusual, I think, for, kind of an art house type film to win the Academy Award,
Okay.
something that didn't get a ton of box office. That's relatively
Okay.
typical, I'd say.
Okay, Alicia, thanks so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thanks for
In
having
these
me.
crazy market environment, we'll be dialing you up again real soon. Alicia Reese, following media and entertainment over
Have a
at
good one. Thanks.
Wedbush Securities. Dennis, what are you doing over there, man? Did you
Ooh, wow.
accidentally like put a book down
I
or
on my buy
something?
button, yeah. Just
Yeah, what
holding down
happened
the buy
there?
button.
What did you do? Wow.
It's just continued. Like, I don't know if there's a headline here coming, but it's just continued chop. You do have this buy the dip mentality in here, and we talked about this earlier. Like the stocks that are starting to show up on my leaderboard here, Nvidia. It
I
stands
know.
out like a sore thumb. Everything is down. I just gave a pitch for Nvidia back here when it was 96 about 30 minutes ago. Obviously bought it at 88 a couple days ago. I just think it wins in both environments. I think people are going to start waking up and saying, hey, you know, this stock, probably wins in a tariff environment and maybe wins in a non-tariff environment. I mean, if you want to be in a stock, I feel like it's still the best place to be. And you know what has happened here? Because people talking about buying the dip, and maybe there's more of a dip to be had. We don't know how deep this is going to get, but we also know there's a lot of bad news in this market right now. So I think, again, I'm going to stick with those themes that were working before this crisis started. The AI bubble had popped, and yes, it was a bubble, but you got to start looking at valuations here now, and where we come from. Where Nvidia just a little while ago at $150, we were talking about almost 40 times forward earnings. It's 21 times forward earnings down here. 21 it's come down to. It's starting to get to a point where if you believe that those earnings and those numbers are hittable, and maybe they're not, and you're going to regret the buy and buying at 21. But I think there's still an opportunity in some tech names, and I think that's what we're seeing here this morning. Is actually tech is actually holding up pretty darn well. It's down less than the S&P, and the QQQs are typically down more than the S&P because of the higher beta. So Tesla's green here again. Lots of robotics there. Like, people say, oh, Dennis hates Tesla. I'm still on Tesla. I never said I hated Tesla. I said I think there's been brand damage done, and that's why I dumped the stock. A majority of it 390, but I kept a little piece, and I've said I intend to reload Tesla at a certain point in time. That time could be coming sooner than later for me. So I haven't decided on it, but you got lots of support down here. I still think the robotics, that Tesla's going to lead the charge here as well. So I think you start
There
picking
you
your
go.
companies, and I do think tech
There's
is
your
the way to
green.
go.
There's Apple. Apple's green. Nvidia's rallied a buck and a half, buck and a half since we talked about it. Broadcom, who initiated the buyback the other day. I mean, this thing can change in a nanosecond here.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, and Tesla's in the green as well. Lilly getting hit. I guess there's supposed to be some tariffs, right? Pharma tariffs coming.
Yeah, and that's why I
Watch out,
said,
Dennis. Watch out on the upside. I don't know if
I'll
it's a
get out of
headline.
here.
You're going to hear me saying this 100 times a day. But you know
We
what?
move quick. This is a quick
A
moving
little bit
market.
ago, I wanted to say I think we're going to go green today, but now that's not even a prediction to say that we may go green because we're only 37 handles
Just
away,
incredible movement,
38
incredible
handles. We could
volatility,
be
lots of
green by the
opportunity
time I
here.
count to 15 here. But there we go.
Wow. There's got to be a
Wow.
headline or
Come
something
on,
here, folks.
headline us, folks. Help us out here. We can't only watch 87 screens at a time here and not get picked off. But we shall see here. But yeah, now Nvidia is up over $2. Let me go to see if we covered everything here. We're going in. We could always
I sold
take.
SPY 20 seconds ago at 493.66. It's 491.8. We just dropped 20 points in 20 seconds. This volatility is incredible, folks. Like, I mean, there is opportunities here as traders, and obviously this is, my type of trading market. It's nobody's investing market. Nobody likes their investments, getting blown up here. But there are opportunities on the trading side of it. Short term, like boom, like you're getting 50-point swings here in 5-6 seconds sometimes. You get on the right side of some of these swings, and holy cow, man, there is some money to be made.
Money being made and money being lost here. We're going to end a few minutes early today. We have who do we have coming on? Oh, we're going to have Mark Chaikin at 10 o'clock in the STN room. We'll be looking forward to what Mark has to say, and then what CPI tomorrow. Our boy Blue, he's coming on. 60 went from 60% probability of a recession to 80% probability. So we'll have Blue on tomorrow. Calm, cool, and collected Tony Pollock on Friday on PMP, folks. So hope we're giving you some good information to navigate this tricky environment. And we'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Those in the STN room will be over there momentarily.